So what is going on, guys? This is Taste, and I'm bringing you another Call of Duty Black Ops 2 video here on the Endeavour Gaming channel. Gaming channel? Gaming channel, that's what I mean. This gameplay featuring bLiNdTRU here playing TDM on drone, I think. I'm going to have got that wrong. I'm pretty sure it's drone. It had drone in the title, and I googled it, it's drone. So, I'm not going to talk about that as usual, because talking about the gameplay gets a little bit tiring. This is a pretty decent gameplay. There's a fantastic streak happening, so all over the middle, we can look out for that. I was going to talk about a news story that's pretty much dubbed down now. I don't know if it made global news. It certainly made news in the UK. And that is about this fella, Jeremy Forrest, which people that have been reading newspapers or looking at the news will know, is this 30-year-old maths teacher that developed some kind of relationship with one of his pupils, which is a little bit weird. Like, how does that even happen? How does that kind of thing start? You're just sitting there, like, sitting about maths, and then all of a sudden... I don't even know. I don't even know where I would go with that. I'm not quite sure. It all seems very odd. And the lag spike there was phenomenal, by the way. I don't know when the recording will sync up as to when that was, but you know what I mean. But yeah, I don't quite understand how that starts off. And the weird thing about it is, I remember, like, there's obviously certain limits, but when I was sort of 15, 16, and sort of on that supposed consent boundary, I was very much in the sort of mind, you know, age is predominantly just a number. You know, like, you can't really reflect put that upon someone, sort of like what their decision making is going to be like. You could get like a 28, 30, or you could get me, for example. I'll take me. Me's a brilliant example. I'm 20, right? Yeah, alright, I'm not like 30 like this Forest guy is, but I'm 30. I'm 20 even. I'm not 30. That'd be ridiculous. I'm 20, and my decision making is probably terrible. Yet you could have someone that's like 13, 14 even, and their decision making could be fantastic. You know, so what should we be allowed to decide? You know, so you can't really go on that. But then at the same time, 30 to 15 is quite a big age gap, so you're sort of like, should that really be happening? And I think that's possibly more the problem, but it's such a big age gap. But obviously they've got the whole consent thing to go on. And so obviously initially, people got wind of it in the UK. I can't quite remember how. I only have like 2 articles open about it at the time. But I can't imagine it was that obvious. And anyway, a lot of things were kicking out, and people started to find out. So they were like, "Oh, I know what's a good idea. Let's both run away to France," because that's obviously what everyone does. It's all gone, Pete Tong. Let's leg it to France, right? That's fairly standard. But apparently, when they got to France, right, which is the funny thing, they obviously planned through. But I still find it rather amusing. Apparently, the French age of consent is lower than 16. Of course, it's lower than 16 in France. Only France. Well, it's probably not only France, but you could see it being France. Like, oh really? What do you reckon's got the lowest age of consent in the world? It's probably France. France has probably done something like that. And so over there, they couldn't get any sort of paedophilia charge on it, which paedophilia always, to me, sort of strikes as sort of the child isn't willing, which apparently is really not the case in there. I mean, we've got this. Apparently there's a quote, "I still love him and always will," because 15-year-olds are always in love, aren't they? Like, that's exactly what happens, especially with their maths teacher, and that's just what goes on. And I feel like, I mean, I'm doing it as well, the sort of the social judgment of it sort of overwhelms what's actually going on, because if it's genuine, which, yes, alright, I'll admit even I'm skeptical of, but if it is actually genuine and all legit and actually felt rather than just a 15-year-old being a 15-year-old, oh my god, we love each other so much, we're going to be together forever, and a month ago you've dumped each other, and obviously all of that activity happened on Facebook. But if it's actually genuine, I don't really think they should have been prosecuted too hard for it, but obviously it's very difficult to tell. And if it's serious, you've got to punish it seriously, but, you know, I'm not going to be in charge of the law, and it's probably for the best that I'm not. But it did strike me as rather amusing that they went to France simply because then it's not a paedophilia charge, which I don't think, to be fair, it should have been. But on the other side of that, they then decided it was an abduction charge because she's so young. And he didn't really he didn't really abduct her, was the thing. Like, I feel like these words and definition, especially through the law and stuff like that, they really sort of give you the impression of something that didn't necessarily happen. I mean, from what I can tell, it was pretty much her idea to run away, to like completely leave, like classic 15-year-old mentality. It's all going wrong, what should we do? Run away. Should we stand up to our life problems? No, they're scary. Then you just leg it, don't you? So, as we know what's happened, so this got the abduction charge, and apparently they were sat in the old courtroom there, where all of it was kicking off, and obviously all the newspapers are out there throwing headlines like pervert and paedophile. Like, pervert's a bit weird, like she was well up for it, so I don't know. Like, pervert implies... I don't know, surely, like, pervert doesn't even imply anything specifically wrong. It more implies sort of like you just like sexual things into a way that you possibly shouldn't. But then in that sort of sense, like, everyone in a relationship is a pervert. Anyone with a sex life is a pervert, but I don't fucking know. But anyway, these sort of headlines would be throwing around. Obviously, it's tabloid headlines that I read because they're the most humorous. I don't want factual information of everything that's credible. I want to hear someone's ridiculous opinion and just assume they're wrong. They have to throw in a fact somewhere. That's what they're called. I've been reading so many tabloids I don't even know what a fact is called anymore. That's how bad it has got, people. But no, he was sat in this courtroom, and apparently as he was escorted off, he said that he loved her to him, and she just said, "I'm sorry." I'm like, what? Oh, wait, what? Did you not get an "I love you too"? No? Okay, you're just sorry. Okay, you're sorry for what? Sorry you're 15, sorry you're underage, sorry that you decided it'd be a great idea to be attracted to your maths teacher and do shit before class, sorry that you... I don't know. Sorry what?
Attack reload.
But I don't know. It struck me as a very odd thing to say in that situation. And like, it always reminds me of that the injury advert thing, where there's that bloke walking down the road in his suit, and someone bumps into his shoulder, and the fella says sorry, and he goes, "Sometimes sorry is enough." But sometimes there's a picture of his man's like cutting his finger off with a fucking drill or something. The drill? What am I on about? Drilling his finger off. I think he was drilling his finger off. I can't remember what he was doing. He cut it off with something anyway. And it's like, but for when times are not, sorry is not enough. And I'm like, sorry, it's not enough there, is it? But I don't think this helpline will help this fella out. But it does strike me as fairly odd. And obviously, from a perspective of a lot of people, it is very wrong. I mean, I imagine I'm going to annoy quite a few people, specifically like parents and things like that. Like, God, I'd hate for my daughter to end up being abducted by her maths teacher. It wasn't really an abduction issue. It was yes, alright, it was probably a stupid decision. Yes, people could probably see how stupid it was, but it was their decision. I mean, obviously, I don't know what's gone on enough to say that whether it was or wasn't a ridiculous decision, and whether how legitimate it was, things like that. But you just sort of feel like, even if it was legitimate, even if everyone agreed, everyone was all tip-top about it, you'd still have to hide it. And is that really right? Is that what you have to do? But then how do you measure it otherwise, I guess, is the other option. Like, if you go into something and you're sort of like, well, alright then, so we take age as just a number, age is now meaningless. How do you measure decision-making capability? Like, that, you can't put a unit on that or anything like that. Like I was saying in one of my first commentaries when I came back, how you can't measure sort of how useful something's going to be when going for a job. Like, there's just so many things you just can't measure. And obviously when the law comes into it, you've got to be able to measure it. You've got to be able to just look at it and just go, right, that is past the line of right or wrong. So, what do you really do about it? And I don't really know what you're meant to do about it. But the thing that really got me was the words being thrown around. Like, because obviously it sells newspapers, but everyone makes it out to be so unbelievably dramatic and mental, and as though he's horrible. Whereas in actual fact, he might have been. Like, yeah, like there was someone like one of the lawyer people was like, the only reason this relationship has taken place is for his lust of young flesh, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, you make him sound like a cannibal. Like, it was mental, the sort of the way he was saying. He probably didn't use a voice or anything like that. I didn't even hear him say it, but it was in quotes, which means they're his exact words, right? Surely, maybe. Like, I read this outside of the tabloid, and it's the same quote as well. So I don't know. Like, I take that as more legitimacy. But sort of that is supposedly like what he was being accused of, which is not necessarily true. And even if it is, like, it's not like, I mean, yeah, maybe not that young, but it's not like people don't. Sort of, especially men, don't like crave younger women to be partners with. Like, it's not exactly, like, that's not a thing. And it's not exactly fun. If that had happened 20 years later, let's say, like, not even that many, 20 years later, so she would have been 35 and he'd have been 55. It would have been that's a bit odd, but it wouldn't even have been that old. Wait, where are we at? 15 to 30, so we've gone to 35 and 45. 50. I don't know. I've lost complete track of where we are. 15 to 35, 30 to 50. There we are. A 50-year-old with a 35-year-old isn't that mental. So why the big deal when they're that young? Other than this whole sexual thing and how everyone's like, oh, my vulnerable child, no. But, you know, it's their fault in a respect, I guess. I know, it sounds so harsh to say that though, doesn't it? But anyway, that gameplay has wrapped up. A little bit shorter, maybe, than I thought it was, actually. I thought it would be difficult to talk about that for 10 minutes. But oh well. Remember to rate, thumbs up or thumbs down whether you liked it, and a comment as to why.